When I see someone I have a crush on, does my heart literally skip a beat? No, but it can speed up. And you could even have something known as a PVC. Like a PVC is a premature ventricular contraction where your heart like beats, but nothing really happens. So it's like an incomplete beat, if you will. But they happen rarely and without symptoms, usually pretty benign. So the answer is maybe. Help, I fart really hard and it hurts. How do I fix this? Is there a name? Fart splints or something? Sam, you know what it is. Painful fart.
Sam, you've got painful farts.
The answer is what's going on. Sometimes there's hemorrhoids, and there's two different types of hemorrhoids, internal and external. External is usually the ones you feel because they're past the pectate line. There's also anal fissures that can bleed quite badly. You can actually end up getting a cream that's called nifedipine. It's compounded with usually some lidocaine or some other numbing agent that allows that sphincter to relax a bit and heal better. There are surgeries, obviously, but those are for more advanced cases. Someone please tell me, if you had no bones, could you still move? No. No. Well, no.
No. Well.
Because your muscles are attached to bones. And if you have no bones, the muscles weren't attached to anything, so you couldn't move. Why do vegetables taste bad? Why can't they just taste good? I disagree. I think an asparagus in my mouth after a steak is wonderful. Asparagus, right? When there's multiple? I'm Googling it. It's either asparagus or asparaguses. I take back my asparagus. Okay, there are no asparagus in my mouth. Only asparaguses. That sounds weird. I'm 25 years old. I've never had a nosebleed. I would very much like to experience one. How would you, no. What am I reading? How do I know if I have a slow metabolism and whether I need to speed it up? Unless there's an issue, meaning you're struggling to lose weight and you've been documented to be overweight and there's a health condition that's being impacted by the fact that you're overweight, I wouldn't worry about your metabolism per se. And in general, the things that you would do to live a healthy lifestyle will help you maintain a healthy metabolism. I wouldn't think about it as slower or faster, because a too fast of a metabolism is also problematic and too slow is problematic. So ideally you want a balanced metabolism, and a balanced metabolism is one that comes with a healthy lifestyle. Obviously there are some factors outside of your control, but that's when diseases happen and that's when a doctor should intervene. All of your hiccup cures are just the top results on Google. What makes you any better than just Googling what's wrong with me? I guess you can. It's just Google's gonna give you a lot of info and it's gonna be in text and boring versus here we're having fun and enjoying the time together. Hey, how are you doing?
How you doing?
I've been having a lot of problems with excessive sweating. I know you've dealt with this a lot, so do you have any advice? Become okay with sweating is a good piece of advice, and I've become better with it, understanding that it's kind of part of life. There are prescription strength deodorants that you could use. You could even use them on your palms if that happens there. There are injections like Botox that you could inject directly into sweat glands. I've never went down this route, but I've heard people do it, and I've met doctors that do it with good results. You just have to do it maybe a couple times in order to get longer lasting results. I don't know. Kind of just sweat and live. You got so triggered in your last meme review by people saying they shower at night. I shower at night because it keeps my bed cleaner when I go to sleep. Do you really think showering in the morning is better? Yes! And I take a passionate stance on this, and I want to argue with everybody in the comment section that I prefer to shower in the morning, and that's the logical way to go. Let's lay out a list of pros and cons of showering in the morning versus at night. Let's say you shave very frequently and you get some nicks sometimes. Maybe it's better to shower in the morning. Why? Because you have more platelets in the morning. Interesting, fun medical fact. Let's say you're stressed out when you wake up in the morning, or you need a little creativity bump. It's a good time to do it right there in the morning. And you know what you do at night? You sweat. Usually more than you sweat during the day, with the exception of exercise, obviously. You're gonna have oil in the night, you're gonna have sweat in the night, clogged pores in the night. So waking up in the morning and showering gets you ready for the day, cleans off your body, and makes you ready to go on. The only thing I would say is if you're gonna shower in the morning, shower a little bit cooler, because warmer might make you sleepy and wanna go back to bed. But now, for the people who like to shower at night, ideally, if you are doing this, it can help you fall asleep, especially if you do it like 90 minutes before. You keep it short, like 5 to 15 minutes, because if you're exposed to a lot of heat for longer than that, it can actually be activating instead of sedating. Benefits, obviously, throughout the day, you get dirty, oil, all that stuff, and therefore you might not want to bring that into bed, which can be acnegenic, causing some clogged pores and stuff. Also, it might be better to shower at night if you're sun sensitive, because if you exfoliate, for example, and then you go out in the sun, that might be a problem because your skin's more sensitive. But if you exfoliate at night, for the morning, you're ready to take on the day. And probably the best reason for most people that have allergies to shower at night is because you wash off all the pollen that you got on you, and then you don't bring it into bed so you sneeze less. Do with that what you will. But for me, morning shower and like post-exercise, obviously, because you don't want yeast and all that stuff developing. Did you become a doctor because your father forced you? Because I think you'd be a better stand-up comedian. Okay, you're probably being sarcastic. No, my father didn't force me, and I would not be a better stand-up comedian. I would like to try my hand at it. I kind of did on the live tour, and I had like 2 good jokes. In order to see them, you have to come to the next edition of the live tour, whenever that's happening. Is Bear in a Jeep Grand Cherokee commercial? There is a Newfoundland dog named Bear in the Jeep Grand Cherokee commercial, and I am kind of upset that they didn't use my bear. Bear, you know you're in a commercial? Come here. Have you been secretly going out and earning in the night Jeep Grand Cherokee ads? I should get at least a little cut. I feed you. Wow. I don't care if you're working without my permission. Come here. But you do need your working papers, all right, son? Just next time if you do a commercial, can you do it for like a Lamborghini so they give us one for free? Do people actually sleepwalk? How can I make sure it never happens to me? You can't make sure, but if you sleep well, you sleep the same number of hours consistently, you don't take any substances that impact your sleep, the risk of you sleepwalking decreases, but you can't be 100% protective of it. Is it normal to have migraines every single day? No, absolutely not. In fact, while we have medications that are abortive in nature that stop migraines, there's also medications that are preventive in nature and that prevent migraines from coming on, and you should discuss those with your doctor. And not all of them are labeled migraine medications. Some of them are like heart rate medications that, like beta blockers, that actually help with migraines, or antidepressants that can be used off-label for migraines. So worth a discussion. When the doctor asks if I'm on any prescription drug, should I tell him I'm using prescription toothpaste, or does that not count? I've yet to hear about prescription toothpaste, but absolutely it counts. It should be, are you taking anything, period? Like prescription or non-prescription, those things still have side effects. So I don't even understand the distinction between the two unless you're asking to refill a prescription and send something to the pharmacy. I never just ask my patients, are you taking any medications? Are you taking any medications? Are you taking any supplements, any creams, etc.? So toothpaste absolutely falls into that category, prescription toothpaste, because that's not just like a regular over-the-counter product. Are breads that have a bunch of visible seeds in them actually healthier than bread that doesn't? Or is that just a marketing trick to seem healthier? Well, first of all, Lizzie, some people enjoy those seeds. Like for example, I like bread with pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds on it. I think there's a big factor to be had with flavor. There's also different macros that come with those breads because depending on the type of seed, you may increase the protein concentration. Also, the big hack that comes from having seeds is fiber. If you don't mind the seeds, I add them on. Can I become more tolerant of mental health medication? 30 milligrams used to do the trick, but it doesn't feel like it has the same effect anymore. Have I gotten used to it? It really depends which medication you're talking about, because some medications absolutely do have a tolerance building effect. Xanax, as an example, like those are benzodiazepines. The answer is it depends. Do you have a workout playlist you can share? I don't. I just like use dance workout playlist. Actually, I could show you a picture of it. Workout music hits 2023. It's a really random playlist, but I like it. Is it better to hydrate myself with warm or cold water? There's probably no perfect answer to that. Really cold, not ideal. Really hot, above 140, we've seen rates of esophageal cancer going up. So again, stay away from the extremes. What is the actual risk of drinking alcohol if you're on painkillers? What could actually happen? Well, it depends which painkillers you're talking about. If you're talking about opioids, obviously there's the risk of respiratory depression. And then if you pass out, you can aspirate your own vomit and die. When you're drinking alcohol, you're less likely to make good decisions. So you could take too much of the painkiller and OD. When it comes to like stuff like Tylenol, it takes a load onto your liver because your liver actively needs to filtrate it. And in fact, some of the biggest hospitalizations for liver failure come from an overuse of acetaminophen, which is the active ingredient in Tylenol. And then when it comes to like the Advils and Motrins of the world, these are NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. And those can actually have an impact on your stomach lining, which then by drinking alcohol, which irritates the stomach lining, kind of has a doubling effect of irritation, causing worsening gastritis, especially if you have an ulcer. Is it true that eating poppy seeds on a bagel can cause you to fail a drug test? How long does it take for those seeds to clear your system? You know, it's a good question, I don't know, but anecdotally, I have heard this to be true, specifically in like armed forces and police officer exams. they tell you not to use those products. Is it healthy and safe to eat insects like crickets? I'm seeing them become more popular here in Europe, and I'm skeptical. If they've been prepared by an adequate food agency, I don't know what the equivalent of FDA is in Europe, then I don't see why that would be a problem. Eating them fresh off the ground, I can imagine that some things could go wrong. I don't know, not really a wildlife expert. So is playing chess an exercise? Because when I play, my heart rate goes way up. You know, I used to think no, but there's been articles coming out of individuals losing a significant number of pounds while playing chess in tournaments. You know, glucose feeds the brain, so it obviously burns some calories, your heart rate goes up. I would say that it's an imperfect exercise because it doesn't make use of your muscles, your musculoskeletal system, and as a result, you can develop aches, pains by being in the same locked-in position. I would say incomplete exercise, but a good exercise nonetheless. Val, what time of day is best for working out? Can I make more progress going in the morning, for example? Is there a time of day the body's more primed for exercise? I've seen this go both ways within my patient population, even for myself. For example, if I'm gonna do a low intensity, long exercise session, doing it at night doesn't bother me. It actually helps me fall asleep real well. But if I was to do sprints and doing them close to bedtime at night when I dump all of that adrenaline, it's actually hard to fall asleep and I need some time to wind down. Also, some people are not early morning risers, so when they wake up, they don't feel great. That works also even more both ways, that some people will start exercising and feel better, therefore that's kind of their hack to getting started. And other people just don't get good adequate performance and they would prefer to work out later in the day. But medically speaking, we don't have a thorough answer for that. You said sweating more means you pee less. Does the same apply to crying? Can I cry so much I never pee? Never pee, no, because you're still gonna be using liquids unless you stop drinking and then you keep crying. Ultimately, your tears will dry up probably before your pee. In fact, if I see a child in the emergency room and their lips are dry and they're crying and I don't see tears, I'm really worried about dehydration. Why do I get hiccups anytime I eat any really spicy foods? Oh, that's probably because you're irritating your diaphragm and your diaphragm starts to have like a spasm in it. If you take like an inhale, then a little bit more inhale without exhaling, and then another one real quick, really fast and really hard, it actually stops the hiccup. I don't know how, it like paralyzes your diaphragm or something. What advice do you have about whether a patient should go see a doctor that works in a giant hospital and a healthcare system versus seeing a doctor with a small local private practice? I think most days, doctors that are even local private practice are affiliated with bigger institutions. I'm a fan of having a small local physician that you have a good rapport with and a long-standing relationship with. And then if something is outside of their practice or their abilities to help you, they have a healthcare system behind them that they can refer you to. But a giant hospital could be really good if you have a rare condition or obviously like a level 1 trauma or something like that. Why do I keep getting Charlie horses in my legs when I'm trying to sleep at night? Most commonly for young, healthy, athletic people, this happens as a result of fatigue. If you over fatigue a muscle, especially if you start a new exercise regimen, you go a little too hard, you could start developing those types of cramps. Also, there's obviously issues with electrolytes in some people that are maybe dehydrated or they're not just taking in enough electrolytes. How can I learn to swallow a pill? Oh, there's actually really useful diagrams on Harvard that they show. I'm showing them here about using a water bottle where you actually suck the water bottle and allows you to swallow the pill better. Obviously, there's certain pills that you can crush and like sprinkle into yogurt or applesauce or something. Just be careful, not all pills are able to do that. Make sure you read the instructions really carefully. Why does a baby become comforted by a pacifier? It tricks the baby into thinking they're being fed, I presume. It's the suck reflex, so makes sense. I'm not a huge fan because it changes the development of the baby's mouth. I try to minimize pacifier use, or at least encourage my patients to minimize pacifier use. But that being said, I understand a crying baby is very difficult, so I understand the need for a pacifier. Is rosacea a bad thing? I've always had it, but always thought it was just one of my beauty traits. Well, it really depends what's causing your red cheeks. A lot of times doctors will say it's rosacea, but it could be rosacea plus something else. I would more so look at the symptoms, how much they're bothering you, what else is going on in your body. Generally speaking, rosacea is just kind of a blood vessel issue that causes some discoloration on your skin that usually is localized to the area, but not in every case. Sometimes rosacea can be paired with autoimmune conditions, for example, or rosacea can be diagnosed when there's really a more correct diagnosis like lupus and you get the butterfly rash. So you gotta be really careful when it comes to rashes. Chris Collins, AKA Call Me Chris, actually shared some really intimate stories on this podcast. I highly recommend you check out the Checkup Podcast with Chris Collins. As always, stay happy and healthy.